Hey guys, it's Kelly and it's the 5D Masterclass. We're finally doing it. I cannot wait. It's going to be so exciting. This is just the most fascinating topic of spiritual awakening and we can get you there ASAP. So if you don't know me, I'm Kelly from Spiritual Awakening Signs and I help people like you who are going through awakening to reduce the challenging symptoms and make your awakening a whole lot easier. And today, of course, we're doing this fantastic masterclass, how to shift into 5D and live an ascended life experience. So really taking your energy and your life experience up a level so that it's not just about the spiritual awakening within, you're experiencing this awakened life experience. This energy is emanating and moving through every aspect of your life and raising that vibration. So it's super, super exciting. So please do say hello if you've joined us live. Say hello, tell me who you are and where you're from. I would love for you to say hi and I'll give you a shout out. And yeah, we're going to be getting into this today. This is really the most kind of ascended information that we've covered today. And of course, I'm getting lots of information from my guides that are telling us what's going on as these changes happen and what's going on in our awakening. So it really is awesome. It really is. So let's say hi to a few people so far. So I can see Julie has joined us. Hi there. David from Jersey. Stacey, hello. Jackson and Catherine as well. Hi everyone. So again, if you're joining us, even if you're just catching up now, please say hello, tell us who you are and join us. And I can see someone else has joined us. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Anukriti, I hope I'm saying that right. Hello there and welcome. So we've got a really awesome masterclass coming up. You're going to want to take notes. You're going to want to remember this stuff. So we're going to be covering a lot. In this video, we're going to cover quite a few different things. We're going to talk about why your awakening is a roller coaster ride of highs and lows and how to stop that. We're going to talk about what 5D actually is. No one really ever covers exactly what it is. We're going to talk about how the 5D gateway has opened. We've got big spiritual news coming up on what's going on right now and what it means for your ascension specifically, signs that your soul is struggling to reach 5D so that you'll know if your soul's actually already trying to make that transition, how I reached 5D consciousness and how you can too, 3 myths about 5D that are blocking you from getting there, and 3 steps to ascended living. We've got a really simple process that you can use, 2 steps that you can use. It's really that easy. It's literally 2 steps. So we're making everything as easy as possible to move into that energy. So fantastic. So I'm just going to say a few more hellos to everyone who's joined us. Lots of you today, which is fantastic. So let's see, we've got Helen and Ando, we've got Catherine from Philadelphia, hi guys. We've got Kate from South Africa, fantastic. We've got Keely and Kirsty, we've got Gavin from Ireland, Sven from Colombia, and Marta as well. Hello everyone and thank you so much. I can see a lot of familiar faces and some new ones as well, so welcome. Okay, so let's get into this because it's a pretty big spiritual update this time, and as I said, my guides are keeping me upgraded with all the latest changes that are happening energetically and how it's going to impact us in awakening, what it can do to help us move forward. What you need to know right now is that the 5D gateway has opened. It's official, it's happening now. The 5D gateway has opened, and this has been something that's been talked about for a really long time in the spiritual community. We've been waiting for it, anticipating it. People have been prophesizing about it for a really long time, and it's really about us getting the opportunity, the doorway to move into that opportunity to move up a level energetically and have that higher spiritual experience while still incarnated here on the earth. So that's the cool thing about it. It's about kind of living a more spiritual life, and it's imbued in everything that you do with meaning and synchronicity, but you're still living your normal earthly life and you're incarnated here. So really incredible experience, and there's never been a time like this before, certainly not that we've seen, where you can actually escape the lower 3D vibrations of what we're currently living in. Things like fear, separation, challenges, struggle, difficulty are all 3D vibrations. We've got the opportunity to step into a higher, more ascended life experience, which of course is 5D. So it's just so exciting. So before we get into anything, let's just cover the basics. So what is 5D? Because there's a lot of different perspectives on it. 5D is a higher state of consciousness. So it really is about awakening fully. It's a higher state of consciousness. It's not a place. but it is a higher vibrational living experience. So again, it's not about just awakening within, it's about that awakening experience playing out in the world around you and noticing the joy and the bliss and the wonder in all the things around you. So you've probably already had moments like this in your awakening. So things where you've had an unquestionable sign or message from the universe that you've picked up on, when you've seen the meaning and the synchronicity and the connection in something specific, or when life is just brighter and you feel somehow like you've gone up a level. You just know it's like, I'm kind of resonating a little bit higher, things feel pretty good, something's different. Well, that's 5D. Anytime you've had a moment like that, that is you accessing that 5D vibration. So you're looking for anything that resonates with joy, bliss, harmony, connection, spiritual connection and intuition. So it's just an awesome experience. It's absolute joy, it's absolute bliss, and it's a real meaningful spiritual experience right in the moment. So I'm going to talk a bit more about what that means so that we can get into it later and so that you have a better understanding of it. But for now, what you need to know is that unfortunately 3D, which is what we currently resonate at, which is the tougher energies, the fear, the separation, the conflict, the ego, the struggle, the challenges, all that stuff is 3D. That's what we currently resonate with. And the 5D, which is this higher ascended energy that we want to move into, unfortunately they are totally different vibrations. 3D and 5D just don't seem to get along very well. They're so completely different. And it causes a problem. It confuses our energies. They get all mixed up because essentially they are straddling two different realities at one time, and it causes a lot of confusion because there's one full of drama and conflict and upset and difficulty, and there's this other one that's full of lightness and joy and spiritual connection. So 3D and 5D, and it's really confusing to the energies because they've never made this shift before. They don't know how to move into 5D. Your energies and your soul don't understand how to integrate that energy and how to stay with it long term. And I'm going to explain in a little while exactly why that is, why our energies are struggling so much. But for now, that's what you need to understand. The 5D gateway is opened. We've got this amazing opportunity. We can step into it if we know how. And the problem that we've got is our energies just don't get it. It's 3D, 5D all the time, and it causes a lot of problems. And that is what causes this really frustrating roller coaster ride in awakening, where you're constantly going through highs and lows, highs and lows. So let me know if you resonate with this, guys, where maybe you're having a good time, maybe you have a win, maybe something goes good, maybe you get some signs and guidance from the universe, something good's happening in your life, and then all of a sudden, just when everything was turning out good, you crash. And you're back down into that earthly drudge, the drama, the conflict, the challenges. It's like no matter how high you go, you just always crash back down into difficulty of some form. And it's kind of like going from feeling really spiritual to feeling really grounded. And that can make you feel really sick of life as it is and wanting to ascend anyway. So it's that roller coaster experience of awakening. It makes it very, very difficult. So the problem with that is by the time you get to that fall, you need to start the climb all over again. So your energy starts from square one, we're down in the ground, and it's like, okay, let's start the climb to 5D all over again. And it makes awakening really difficult for people. It can be extremely exhausting, and it can be really exasperating as well. I can see a few people are resonating with this. So we've got Helen says, yep, totally resonates. Julie says, that's exactly how it's been for me. Makes me feel disconnected. Yeah, it's a tough feeling. Helen says, really feels like a constant roller coaster. Kerry says, yep, definitely. Absolutely. It's one of the toughest aspects of awakening is that constant. It's like, I'm up, oh no, I'm down. I'm up, oh no, I'm down. And every time you're down, it's like, oh God, I'm going to have to climb again. And I don't know if I've got any energy left in me to make that climb again. And that's what's happening to the soul. So I'm really glad that people are resonating with this and being able to identify that that's what's going on in your awakening. But let's talk about some of the signs that you get that your soul is actually struggling to reach 5D. Because what's happening already is now that this gateway is opened and now that we have this opportunity, throughout awakening what we're doing is we're starting to just kind of dip our toe in the waters. We're starting to reach up to 5D and see if we can make it. But if our soul is struggling with it, we tend to get a lot of different kind of signs and symptoms. I'm going to run over these and let me know if these resonate with you. So signs that your soul is struggling to reach 5D are things that show up in life first. We're going to cover life. So you might experience lots of ups and downs. You have a lot of drama or conflict in your life. There's a lot of emotional upset. There is a constant struggle or difficulty, obstacle that you just feel like you can never catch a break. Maybe you feel like there's always a problem. There's always another obstruction to what it is that you're trying to do. Inability to escape the past, it just keeps catching up with you, and constantly living in survival mode. These are all signs in your physical life that your soul is struggling to reach 5D. So let me know if they are resonating. I can see people are saying, this is relentless, I've been doing this for years. First time I've heard this explained like this, resonates so much. Kate says 100%, it feels as though I can never sustain a happy, high vibrational energies. Gavin says, feels like I'm going backward massively or failing. Yeah, it happens to us all. So I want to comfort you and letting you know we can move out of it, but it definitely is difficult. So I definitely feel you with that. But let's talk about that's some of the life experiences that show that our soul is struggling to reach 5D. So let's talk about the physical signs that we get, because sometimes the physical signs are so intense they can really cause us big problems. So physical signs that your soul is struggling to reach 5D would be nausea, would be disinterest in food or overeating, overcompensating with food, fatigue or lack of energy, feeling weakness in the body, feeling dizzy or lightheaded often, headaches, body temperature extremes. So that used to happen to me a lot. I'd either be absolutely roasting hot, like so uncomfortable and really overheated, or freezing cold, can't get a heat. But it tends to fluctuate, or you might have one that you lean more to than the other. Aching joints, aching muscles, discomfort, feeling disconnected from your body is another big sign, and unexplained health complaints. So things that you notice in your system, you go to get them checked by a doctor or a medical professional, and they're like, can't find anything. Or they run the tests and you know it's happening to you, and they're like, can't seem to find anything. We've run the tests, it's not there. And you're like, it is there because I know what's going on, but they just can't find it. So these are all signs that your soul is trying to get you to 5D, but it's struggling. It's under the duress and the pressure of trying to reach up, and it just can't quite get there. So I can see a lot of people are resonating with this as well. Kirsty says, yes, that's me. Cindy says, yep. Katya says, yes. Gavin says, infinite recurring problems. Julie says, yes, I've been nauseous. And wow, I have a lot of those. Cindy says, yes, yes, yes to all of it. It's been so heavy. Sven says, insomnia. Yes, sleep issues can be a big indicator as well. Tanika, nausea and fatigue are major for me lately. Katya says, I often feel like I'm 100 years old. Well, actually on the soul level, we're a lot older than that, so you might be picking up how old your soul is. Julie says, don't worry, because we're going to cover it in this masterclass. There are things that you can do to make it better. Awakening is always going to be challenging, but there are things you can do to make it better. And what I want you to know as well is that I went through this too. I had that problem too. It seemed like every single time I got to some form of peak of my awakening experience or spiritual high, just when everything started to turn out okay and I thought things were going to be all right, the wave would inevitably crash, and I would find myself ground back down into cold, hard, crap reality, and it would be, starting from the ground up again, and just so difficult. It was really soul destroying, because when you get to the down part and you're in that really grounded energy, it feels like there's no meaning to the experience. It feels like there is no guidance, like you're not being led at all. And for me, it quite often made me wonder, is this really a spiritual awakening, or have I just lost my mind a bit? Am I just crashing back down? And it makes you question what's really happening to you. Because no matter how hard I tried to maintain that higher vibration, I would inevitably lose it. And that was a big deal, because at that time I was still doing intuitive healing, I was working with other people, I was doing all these spiritual things, and I felt a little bit like a spiritual failure or some sort of fraud, because it's like I can't seem to maintain this higher vibration. Even though I understand it, I just can't seem to maintain it. So it definitely does feel exhausting and completely demoralising when stuff like that happens. And unfortunately, that relentless continuation of highs and lows went on for years. And I mean years. It went on for a really long time. I just could not get the hang of it no matter what I did. But the problem was that my soul was desperately trying to ascend. It was trying to raise me up that little bit higher, but the human part of me was carrying all this old emotional baggage, all the trauma, all the pain, all the upset and all the stress from this life and other lives, all the lives that you've lived. And unfortunately it meant that I could only ascend so high until inevitably the weight of that baggage would just cause me to crash back down. And it was the weight of the low vibrational baggage that was causing the problem. It was causing me to constantly plummet back down to earth, so to speak. And it was the conflict between those two aspects. It wasn't like, there wasn't really any inherent problem in me, and it's the same with you. There's nothing inherent in you that makes it a problem. It's the fact that there's the conflict between those two aspects, two different worlds and two different vibrations that causes the highs and lows. And my energies didn't know how to transition. That was the problem. They'd never experienced 5D before. Remember, your soul comes from somewhere a lot higher than 5D. So it was kind of like, energies are like, I don't really know what to do with this. I don't understand it. I don't know how to integrate it. And I definitely don't know how to maintain balance when I'm in it. So it meant that I was essentially living through an energetic tug of war where, no matter how high I went, I would inevitably crash back down, and I'd be in negativity or health concerns or just feeling like constantly struggling and never getting anywhere. And it was, whether it took me, through the highs and lows or not, it ultimately was useless because I wasn't moving forward. It was like, okay, we're doing all this movement here, there and everywhere, but I'm not moving forward spiritually. So it was really, really difficult. But once I taught my energies how to transition, how to let go of all that 3D baggage and actually transition from 3D to 5D in a way that they could understand, a way that they can understand the flow and the way they need to move, it began to happen. I began to shift into 5D consciousness. And the weird thing is, it was subtle. It wasn't like you would think it would be. It didn't completely transform and it was like I was living somewhere else most of the time. I've got some stories about that. It was more like subtle. It was the tiniest of little moments, like suddenly realising that the world around me maybe looked kind of hyper real or super colourful and really, really vibrant, or a sign from the universe that would amaze and delight me, and I'd be totally amazed looking around thinking, why is no one else reacting to this? This is incredible. Or just a little thing like feeling happier and noticing that life was good and that I wasn't crashing back down, and it was a real dream-like feeling. It's really hard to explain, and the best experience I can explain to you of 5D, I've had a few that have been really meaningful, but there was I think it was last year, and my partner and I decided one day to go a walk, and we walk often, so that wasn't unusual, but we were going to a kind of local rural park, a really beautiful place to walk. And the strange thing was, we decided to go a walk at night, which is something that we never did, because you need to be mindful, you need to be careful. Walking at night is not always ideal. But we decided to go a walk at night, and I remember we started walking down this pathway lined with all the trees and the grass, and it was lovely and rural. And I just looked around and I thought, something's different. There's a really weird feeling. And we were both kind of looking at each other going, what's that? Well, something's different. What is this? And the way that the light had changed, there was this really strange kind of pinky peach colour in the sky as the sun was going down. It was perfectly comfortable, which it never is in Scotland. It's usually really cold, and we were like, it's really comfortable all of a sudden. It was blissful. It was like being in a dream, and we felt perfectly safe. And we walked for ages. We came home when it was dark, which is really unusual for us. And we were both looking at each other and going, we've slipped into something. I don't know what this is. This is like walking in heaven for a moment. It was absolutely bizarre and wonderful, and we were totally like looking at each other going, is this happening to you too? Like, this is weird, right? It was an absolutely amazing 5D experience, and it lasted the whole evening, and we just had such a wonderful time. It really was like a dream, and that is 5D. Now, it doesn't always happen in those expanded time frames, but it can. The more often you train your energies into that, you'll experience it more often. But sometimes it's just a tiny little moment. Sometimes it's just little things like my partner and I saying, oh, there's this thing that we need to buy. and then we go out somewhere and it happens to be marked down and it's for pence, and we're both like high-fiving each other, you know, like, yeah, the universe provides, we got what we needed. And it's not even really manifestation, it's just being in that vibration of 5D. When you need something, it's there, you know, it arrives, it finds its way to you. And things like that happen to us often. So you really want to be moving into 5D. It doesn't make life perfect, doesn't mean you'll have no problems, but it does mean that you'll have a lot more moments of deep synchronicity and meaning, moments of bliss, moments of joy, moments where you're just going, I don't know what's happening here, but this is cool, this is really cool. And it brings your spirituality alive into the real world around you. So it's a really awesome experience, and I would love for you guys to experience that too. So let's talk about some of the benefits of 5D living, because there are some really awesome benefits to moving into that energy. I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to move into that energy, but some of the awesome things that can happen as you transition into that 5D consciousness are things like more peace, more harmony, more stillness in your life, being guided by the universe with signs, synchronicities, messages, synchronistic abundance. Like I was talking about my partner and I saying, we need this thing, and we go out and it's for pennies, or someone goes, I was throwing this thing out, it's brand new, do you want it? And we're like high-fiving each other, you know, people are looking at us like, okay. Other benefits are feeling joyful within, which of course you want to feel. Heightened intuition absolutely changes the way that you interact. The psychic information comes a lot more quickly and more clearly. Finding meaning and synchronicity in life, which is really the most important thing. You need to feel like your life has meaning. And blissful moments of what I call heaven on earth, because it really is like getting a glimpse into that where you're just like, oh wow, this is amazing. And again, like I said, it can be a tiny little moment, or it could be a kind of longer experience, which is rarer. But when me and my partner had that, we were both like, this is so cool, and talked about it for a long time afterwards. Like, was that really what we think it was? That was bizarre, but it's just wonderful. So we're going to get into the myths that tend to block you from reaching 5D, because there's a lot of limiting information that can hold you back and cause you problems. I want to get into that and cover that. And then if you have any questions or anything you want to ask about 5D at all, please do let us know in the comments, and we'll answer those afterwards and make sure that we're getting things covered. But I will answer just a few just now. So I can see Madalena says, how do I know if all these symptoms are due to my soul trying to shift, or to some trauma that needs to heal? As a matter of fact, I've been tumultuous all my life. Once because I neglected my spiritual needs, but now I'm in a spiritual journey. I still feel as bad in spite of some incredible bliss and insights. Well, that to me sounds like the up and down. Now, quite often in awakening, and this applies to Madalena and to all of us, you need to remember your soul is healing, not just the stuff that's happened this time, but the stuff that's happened in all of your lifetimes. It's about gathering the wisdom and letting all the pain go. So it's possible that your awakening kind of begins the minute you get here. It's like your soul just has to start clearing, and loads of negative stuff happens because it's trying to work through as much of it as it can, as quickly as it can. And unfortunately that means that we do tend to carry a lot of trauma and negative experience. We're very, very sensitive. But if you can start to heal that stuff and move past it, what you'll find is those highs and lows level out, and you'll experience more of the highs because you're already getting the 5D, the bliss and the insights. You want to just shore up on that a little bit more, but it can happen. So I can see Anne is talking about, I can only eat gluten-free food and sometimes can't even eat gluten-free food. See, we become really, really sensitive, and it's the density in the body starts to cause problems. Again, more signs that our soul is struggling to shift us out of the 3D and into 5D. I can see other people saying, me too. Katia says, I'm so exhausted from all the crashing back down. Oh, I totally understand. It's so difficult, but we're working on it today, so that's the great thing. Julie says, beautiful. I think that's in response to the story that I told. That's lovely. And we'll make sure that we answer any more questions that come up, so please do let me know and I'll get them at the end. But let's talk about the myths. So now can be the time when you finally move into those higher elevated states of being, that higher level of consciousness, and your awakening isn't just in here, it's in your life. It's actually in your life experience. It's an awakened and ascended life experience, and that's what you want. It can be higher vibrations, it can be a more joyful experience, a more connected and guided reality, if your soul knows how to make the jump. If it doesn't, it's going to reach a little bit, fall back down. Reach a little bit, fall back down. So we want to make sure that you get there. If you don't make the jump to 5D, you're going to find that your spiritual awakening is going to throw you around in all different directions, and none of them are going to be forward. And I know that from experience. So it's really until you finally decide that you want to step into that 5D, which is an unavoidable next step. It will happen to all of us on the awakening pathway at some point. So it's really just a matter of how long you want to waste time, how long you want to stay in that negative vibration, which I'm sure that you don't. So it's more a matter of when and how much more challenging 3D stuff you can take. And I don't know about you, but I really felt like I was kind of done with it. You know, it's like you reach a point, it's like, yeah, I'm done with the 3D stuff. I'm ready to move on. I've really had enough. And I know that you guys will probably feel the same. So let's get into the myths. So myth number 1, 5D is a place. That is a big, big myth. 5D is not a place, okay? 5D, there's this perspective around 5D that we're going to suddenly ascend into a different physical vibration, that it's going to be a different dimension, and everything's going to be different. And that can hold us back a bit. 5D is a state of mind, okay? It's a feeling of enlightenment, it's a feeling of connection, it's intuition, and even bliss, okay? And shifting into 5D is going to change your experience of your life. It's your actual life and your perception of life from within. So you don't need to go anywhere to reach 5D. It's happening within. It goes with you, and it's reflective of where you've reached in your consciousness experience. So 5D is not a place that we're not going to be leaving the planet. Nothing crazy like that's going to happen. It's just more of an inward experience that creates the outward in your life, that just elevates everything a little bit. Myth number 2 is those who don't make it, I hate that term, those who don't make it will be abandoned or left behind. And this one used to cause me really a lot of worry, because there was a lot of talk about 5D a number of years ago, and a lot of us got the concern of like, right, well, you know, if I transcend, am I going to leave my family behind? Am I going to be separated from them? No, not at all. 5D is union, 5D is connection, 5D is when you're moving past the energies of separation, which is a 3D thing. So due to the fact that we are governed by the laws of the earth, we're going to remain in this physical reality, okay? Those of us who shift into 5D consciousness will have a different perception of life. That's the only difference. You'll have a different perception of life. No one is going to be left behind. All of your friends and family will still be there, and they're just going to be where they are. It's just that your personal perception of life is going to be elevated and raised and different from theirs. But everyone will eventually shift to 5D reality in a sense where their consciousness will raise. It's just in their own time. But you'll still be in the same physical reality. It's just that you'll kind of have the rose-tinted glasses on, and they maybe won't. Okay. Right, myth number 3. And this is the biggest one that I want to tackle, okay? Myth number 3 is that you can live exclusively in 5D all of the time, okay? That one's quite damaging, because I think it gives us the perspective that we can escape reality completely. You cannot live exclusively in 5D all of the time. Now, the reason why is because the Earth itself is 3D. Now, the energy of the Earth might raise, but the planet is always going to be 3D, because 3D is physical objects, people, places, things, food, you know, all the experiences that we need to actually relate against other people and other experiences to have our life experience and do our learning. So we're always going to need to be connected to 3D. We're never going to escape that until we shift planes and we actually move on. And Earth has a global consciousness and a mass consensus. So all these perspectives that say this is the way life is, unfortunately we can't bend that to our will. We have to buy into that because it's the laws of the earth and we have to be here. So until we leave this plane, we're going to be governed by 3D reality. Even as the earth raises its vibration, 3D will still exist, because we're going to have to use physical objects and consume food and all the rest of it. Some of us may shift to a different vibration, but 3D is always going to be here. So while we can't maintain a 5D vibration solely here on earth, what we can do is choose to reside in 5D most of the time. So we can get ourselves to a state where our consciousness resides at 5D, but we can still interact with the 3D world, meaning that we can still interact with our friends and family, we can still have a life experience, we can still do all the fun things that the physical world allows us to do, all these wonderful experiences, but we'll do it from the 5D consciousness really within ourselves and in our perspectives. So it's a bit like even an enlightened yogi who maybe resonates at 5D reality most of the time, they still need to eat, they still need to sleep, they still need to talk to people, they still need to interact with humans, they still need to look after a body, which is always going to be physically 3D. So you just need to bear that in mind. It's like you can shift into 5D most of the time, but 3D is going to exist. So it's kind of like they'll merge, they'll kind of cross over in some sense where you can experience both, but you just want to shift into 5D more of the time. So that is the truth, and I know it's really awesome. Like, it's just there's no comparison to living 3D most of the time and then having a peak 5D experience, and you wouldn't get that if you lived in 5D all the time. So it's good actually to have that little bit of, okay, we're doing the 3D thing, and then it's like, wow, look at this thing that's just happened. It's just so awesome. So you can do that too. You can definitely be like the yogis who are in 5D consciousness but existing in 3D reality, doing their thing. So we're going to get into our two-step process to reaching 5D reality without crashing back down, because that is the problem that we're facing. So the truth is, like I said before, you've already reached 5D. There's no question of that. We all do at some point on the awakening pathway. Just think of one moment in your awakening where something felt kind of special and you'll remember it. So no matter how fleeting it was, no matter how small, it could be a feeling of deeper meaning and synchronicity to something, and sometimes it's a blissful, joyful, dreamlike quality to it. Think back, and I know that you'll find your 5D moment. Please let me know if you can think of a moment that was your 5D moment. It could have been a split second, but it just had an impact. It just felt meaningful and spiritual and special to you. Well, the issue isn't whether we can reach 5D reality, because we all can. We absolutely can. And now that the 5D gateway is open, there's no question. We can reach 5D. But it's a matter of how can we stay there. So we know that we can get there, but how do we stay there long term? How do we maintain that wonderful, enlightened, connected, in alignment energy more of the time? So it's not as complicated as it sounds, and we've got a special two-step process that we're going to cover just to make it a whole lot easier. It's really not that complicated. But I'm going to give you everything that you need to get through it. So I'm going to break this down, but I'll just go overview first, guys, so stay with me just now. So step 1 would be clear old 3D ties. Now by that I mean things like past life promises, oaths, vows, commitments, obligations, responsibilities, and agreements are 3D promises, and they tend to cause us problems. So step 1 is you want to clear all the old 3D promises. Step 2, you want to teach your soul how to effortlessly shift into that 5D reality. Okay, so that's all there is to it. I'm just going to break it down a bit in a moment. So step 1, clear old 3D ties, any old 3D promises. And step 2, teach your soul how to effortlessly shift into 5D reality. Now, with reference to old ties and promises, they are the number one cause of 3D entrapment. They keep us trapped in the physical reality. So all the old obligations, responsibilities, oaths, vows, wedding vows, marriage commitments made by our souls in other lifetimes, they still are being held today. So even if you can't consciously remember them, which you probably don't, because they come up in sessions all the time, I discover these in myself and other people, and I have done over the years, they keep you stuck in a pattern. They keep you stuck in the 3D because they are 3D promises. They're made on that level of like force and trade and kind of holding people to their word, because you can't just relax and let them be free and know that you're connected anyway. It's based on separation. So it keeps you in a pattern of rising up and then falling back down, because the promises are the thing, even if you don't consciously remember them, that have all the weight to them, and they keep you binded and tangled in the 3D energy. So you need to clear those. That's really, really important that you clear those. Otherwise, you're just going to rise up and fall back down all the time, because they just will not let go. And you won't know that they're in there because they're past life stuff. You'll just keep crashing back down and not know why. Okay? So like I said, they're unconscious. We don't know that they're there most of the time. And of course, like I said before, our energies are totally bewildered. They don't really understand. They're confused about 5D. They don't know how to make that transition. They don't know how to cope with this higher vibrational energy. So we can skip the chaos, we can skip that kind of wobbling to find balance stage, and instead just give our energies a break and show them what they need to do. Once they know, they'll do what you need them to do, but you need to show them how to transition in a way that is gentle, that is enjoyable, it's easy, and it's automatic, so that you don't have to reprogram them every time. It's just, here's how to reach 5D, and they're like, okay, and they'll do the thing they need to do, flow in the correct way that you need. But how? Well, the answer, like I always say, is with energy healing. Energy healing is the key to doing that, because with the energy healing we can actively remove all the old past 3D ties. So you don't need to remember them. We're just going to remove all the old oaths, vows, obligations, responsibilities, commitments, agreements, you name it, you've made it. We're going to clear all of those that keep us trapped in the 3D and all the 3D ways of living, and then we're going to teach your energies how to transition easily, effortlessly, and how to maintain that 5D vibration long term and without crashing back down. So it makes it a lot easier for your energies, and using this method means you'll become better able at maintaining that vibration long term for longer periods of time than anyone else you know who's spiritual. You're actually taking years and years and years worth of that kind of wobbling phase out. You're just saying, here's how to do it, and your energies go, okay. It makes it a lot easier. So we're going to recap some of the stuff that we've covered, and then I'll go over some questions. So any questions that you have, pop them below just now and I'll answer them in a few minutes. But let's recap what we've covered today so far. So we've covered that 5D is a higher state of consciousness, and it aligns with joy, harmony, peace, intuition and connection. We've learned that 5D gateway has opened, has finally opened, and it gives us the opportunity to ascend into higher spiritual resonance and higher vibrational living. We've learned that because our energies don't know how to make that shift to 5D, and because of past life promises, our energies struggle to ascend to that 5D reality. They keep crashing back down. We covered the 3 myths, that 5D consciousness is a place, that those who don't make it will be left behind, and that you can live exclusively in 5 reality. So we know that they're all myths, and we know that we can live in 5D most of the time. We can shift that. And we also learned that if we teach our energies how to make that transition with energy healing, we can resonate in that vibration much more often and stop the highs and lows of that spiritual awakening roller coaster. And of course we do that with 2 steps. So step 1, we clear old 3D ties and promises, and step 2, we teach our soul how to effortlessly shift from 3D to 5D reality with energy healing. That makes it really simple and really fast. And just so you know, 5D isn't special to me. This isn't something that's just specific to me. You don't need to be or have anything at all in order to reach 5D, and the gateway is open. It's absolutely your choice whether you choose to step into that or not. It's entirely up to you. But the good news is you don't need to go to energy healers, you don't need to train as an energy healer, you don't need special ceremonies or practices or anything like that. If you're ready to get started on shifting into 5D reality right now, then you can check out our brand new energy healing meditation. It's called the 5D Ascension Shift, and it's going to help you to disconnect from 3D reality, clear past life baggage and promises, and fully align with the new heightened 5D vibration. It's quite extensive, it's quite a big energy healing, and you can get started in literally about 10 minutes time to do that. You won't find a healing product like this anywhere else. It's very specific, and of course our meditations are a special hybrid of energy healing and meditation. So relaxing the body, putting you into a theta brainwave, opening up your psychic connections with the meditation, and then using energy healing and activations. And I always say I work with a series of high vibrational spirit guides who not only give me all this wonderful information I'm able to share with you, but they also work with you specifically in the energy healings. So you watch them anytime and the guides start working with you, and they tailor it specifically to your energies and what you need to make sure that it's balanced and to make sure that it's really a tailored healing experience, just like it would be if you worked with me one-to-one. So it really takes a lot of trouble out of the experience. And of course it's all wrapped up in about 20-25 minutes time, and you've got the healing and the activations that you need. So it's fantastic, and you can use it again and again to train your energies into the 5D vibration so that they'll stay there long term, and so that you can experience that more often. And quite often we get messages during our meditations as well, which we did in this one, so it was awesome. So this meditation is going to untangle you from lower 3D energies and frequencies, cancel past life oaths, vows, contracts and obligations that keep you trapped in the 3D vibration. It's going to release resentment, which is another thing that holds us there, from this life and past lives that keep you entrenched in the 3D reality. And it's going to recalibrate your energies to ascend to 5D reality effortlessly. So all you need to do is relax and listen, and we'll do all the work for you. And you can check it out in the link in the description below. So we'll answer a few questions now before we finish up, guys. And if you have any questions, you just let me know and we'll get to those. So let's see, Katia says, I can get anxiety from the elevated states. How do I deal with that? Like I feel more safe in the struggle. Now that's just old programming. Feeling more safe in the struggle is, we actually cover this in the meditation. It's weird, actually that specific came up and the guides were telling us about how there's an aspect of us, because we're human, that is inbuilt. It's almost like a caveman thing that's in the genes and the DNA. We did some healing in the energetic DNA that kind of keeps us wanting to fight against something. It's that inner conflict that's inherent in humans, and we kind of sometimes want something to fight against and fight for. So we release that in the meditation, so we can definitely change that. But as for the anxiety that you get from the elevated states, you just need to ground yourself. If you go to our website, you'll find the free 5-day course, spiritualawakeningsigns.com, and it'll show you how to do that and get out of the anxiety ASAP. And we've also got an anxiety masterclass as well, so take a look on our site and you'll find those. So Tanika says, those moments when that thing that you need turns up right when and where you need it, physically or emotionally, and she's got her hands up, it's just awesome. It's moments like that for me are just they're so reassuring, because even though I've always been on a spiritual pathway and I've done this work for so many years, it's still totally awesome when these things happen. Like, it doesn't matter what stage you get to, it's still absolutely humbling and exciting when it happens. So it's really cool. I can see Shannon says, so sensitive to sound, light pollution in the air, and she says people are crazy right now. There's no peace and quiet in the neighbourhood, having a hard time with heat. Hard time being around people. These all sound like signs to me, Shannon, that your system is struggling to shift into 5D, because it's all very grounded stuff that you're dealing with. It's very earthly stuff that's frustrating and upsetting your balance, and also feeling really, really sensitive. So usually what that is when your system starts trying to your soul starts trying to leave, you get a little bit ungrounded. You're not leaving, but it kind of raises up a little bit higher to remove itself from the 3D reality, and that can make you a lot more sensitive. So we can definitely help you in the meditation if that feels like a fit for you. Jackson says, will this help move through the negative stuff that's coming up with me that I'm currently dealing with? It'll help you to deal with a lot of the negative stuff that is created in the 3D. So anything to do with those themes, conflict, struggle, obligations, obstacles, challenge, drama, fear. If it's anything to do with that, we can definitely make a big shift in that. Let's see. Jem says, is there something after 5D, 6D or 9D, or is 5D it for this lifetime? That's a great question, Jem. She says, if people not experienced 5D before this portal opened, how do you know it's open now? Well, like I said before, my guides give me all that information, so I'm so fortunate to be able to get all the information that we need, and that's what the guides are saying. It's open now, so this is an unprecedented time where we can reach 5D. Now, what appears to be, and we don't know for sure, it looks as though really ancient civilizations may have had the opportunity to shift into 5D, or we were more aligned with that kind of light being energy, but it was a really long time ago, and the earth goes through cycles. So we're at a stage now where certainly in our lifetimes, we've never experienced this before. Now, as for other things after 5D, absolutely. 5D is really the peak experience that we're going to get here on earth. And I would say, my perspective, probably 5D is it for this experience on earth. And you don't need to go any higher than that on earth. That's going to be a phenomenal experience. But there are definitely much higher levels, and different aspects of you already exist on those levels. When you're going through awakening, that's when you start connecting to those higher planes with all the different versions of you on it. I know that's a head pickler, but I'll maybe cover that one day in one of the videos. Let's see, Anne says, I feel like I'm a magnet for people who live by their minds and not by their heart. Very ego-oriented people. I'm wondering what it's about. I need to do more shadow work, or why I'm among them all the times. It's tiring. Well, it could be that your soul's trying to work through some of that stuff. This could be a past life thing. So you may have found that in your past life, either you were around a lot of ego people, or that your soul is afraid that you'll become egotistical. So it starts making all these people pop up round about, so that you're consciously aware of it. You're like, I don't want to be like that. Sometimes the soul does that. But just do your best to do the healing that you can, Anne. And even though it's really difficult, shadow work can help. But I would say it's more about, I'm just tuning into the energy. It feels for me like your soul has made that commitment. It's about ego. It's, I don't want to be like that. So it draws it into your field so that you can kind of have a mirror for something that says, I'm not going to be that way, to remind you all the time. So I think you've made a promise or an oath or a vow to never be like that. And that's where this meditation actually might help to cancel some of that. Marta says, why did we come here in the first place? Good question. Most of us have come here at this particular time to be upgraded. Energetically, we're all getting upgraded. We're getting new blueprints. We're kind of stepping back into our abilities and gifts that we've had in ancient civilizations, in times that we maybe don't remember, and in times in other planes. So we've come here this time to, particularly if we're going through awakening, to work through all this stuff, all the learning, and let go of all the pain, so that we can really ascend and become the ascended master that we really are. Let's see, Julie says, is that like asking to be released from any contracts made knowingly or unknowingly? That's exactly what it is. So things that you may not be aware that you have. And what I see coming up a lot are even things like things that we covered in the meditation, where wedding vows, sometimes marriage vows, hold us to promises and ways of being that no longer serve us. You know, they're kind of outdated. And also things like religious oaths that we've taken on. In other lifetimes, we've devoted ourselves to certain religions or belief systems. And sometimes things, this was coming up in the meditation, things like taking an oath of poverty, you know, taking oaths to never be governed by the material, things like that. We make those promises and then we get into this lifetime and wonder why we can't move forward, why we can't make any money, or you know, why we never get what we need, we're never provided for. The promises are still holding. Gavin says, I feel like I keep having synchronicities with different types of birds that start to appear more and more. Interesting. He says, I look at what they represent symbolically. A robin keeps appearing in my garden, which seems strange for this time of year. They feel like 5D moments. That definitely sounds like a 5D moment to me. So birds are very representative of spirituality and that higher ascended part of us, or spirit guides, because they can look down on everything from a really high vantage point. Definitely sounds like a 5D moment. Thanks for sharing that. Marta says, how do we clear those 3D ties? Best way is with energy healing. Of course, you can go to a healer if you want. You can look down other avenues, but our meditation we've made specifically with the guides to just clear them all in one go. So in about 20 minutes, it's going to clear the bulk of that stuff that's really holding you back. And if, of course, you do that and then you feel like there's still some negativity, you can repeat the meditation a few times and it'll keep working through layers. Sometimes this all works in layers. It's not quite ready to let go of everything. Katia says, I feel like my consciousness is in 5D a lot of the time, but my body is exhausted and full of pain and grief. It makes a really odd combination, and then the confusion between the two states can make me feel crazy and cause anxiety, and then the crash. I totally understand completely, and I know that loads of people on this live video will be feeling exactly the same. That is the awakening experience. But what I will say that is, if you can get grounded, you'll release a lot of the pain. Definitely, I'm picking up with your energy and the exhaustion and stuff. Your system's really ungrounded, and I feel like maybe more the last few months your soul's been trying to kind of remove itself. It's like your soul's doing, I can't handle this, and it's raising up and becoming really ungrounded because it's trying to kind of pull away from the body a little bit. I think that's what's causing your problem. So again, spiritualawakeningsigns.com, have a look and get our free 5-day course. It'll help you to really make a big difference to that, even in a few days, with the guidance that we share. So guys, I'm going to keep everything related to the 5D video, so if there's anything different, I won't be covering it in this video, just so you know. Let's see, so Kate says, hi Kelly, I've done your house energy clearing meditation, absolutely incredible by the way, delighted that you liked it. She says, feeling so much lighter, would you suggest waiting a little while before doing this meditation? Not at all. This is what's changed as well, and this change